Hundreds of thousands of federal workers have been placed on furlough as a result of the government shutdown, now in its third day. That means they, along with essential workers still on the job, will not receive a paycheck until the impasse in Washington is resolved. But they still have to pay their bills and other basic expenses. To discuss how workers can manage their finances during the shutdown, Chris Kowalik is joining us now, founder of ProFeds. And you basically try to help people in all times with who work for the federal government with sort of retirement planning and financial planning generally. I'm sure you're getting a lot of questions right now. So if people are not getting paychecks, what do you tell them to do?
Well, this year has been riddled with lots of questions through the Trump administration in the first couple of quarters of the year. Certainly right now, when it comes to a government shutdown, a lot of this will depend on whether someone is already retired from the federal government or they're still working, of really what happens in that situation for them. So, for instance, those who are already retired are still going to get their retirement check. They're still going to receive their Social Security benefits if they're on Social Security. They're going to continue to have their health insurance and their life insurance available to them. So none of those things change. But for active employees, that's where things get a little bit different. With them, when they think of the paycheck that should be hitting their checking account every 2 weeks, they are simply at risk for not receiving that. And so the normal bills that they typically pay with that money that comes in every 2 weeks, those bills might be a little bit harder to pay for those employees. But I do have some good news. The good news is for those employees who are furloughed during a government shutdown, they're still going to be paid. There just may be a delay in when they actually receive that payment.
Do you see an uptick in folks doing things like taking out short-term loans, payday loans when this kind of thing happens? And is that, what would you advise people should do?
Most of the time what we see is the high interest credit card debt spending, which is always a concern. Anytime we're thinking of high interest credit card debt, high interest loans, those types of things, that always worries us because that tends to put people in a bit of a financial spiral in the wrong direction. And so we really encourage folks to have an emergency savings account to be able to manage those times when perhaps the government does shut down. And I'll be really honest, when we're thinking of all of your listeners, emergency funds are always important to make sure that whatever that comes up, they're able to weather that financial storm and not be stuck into making decisions that otherwise they wouldn't do in normal economic times.
Right, and I guess federal workers in particular, because unfortunately this seems to be happening with some regularity, so it's at least a possibility. When you are giving sort of more long-term retirement and financial advice to federal workers, how is what they need to do, absent the shutdown, different from other kinds of workers? What are the kind of unique things they need to consider?
Yeah, so here at ProFeds, we provide retirement training to federal employees on lots of different platforms. We have our workshops, webinars, podcasts, articles, all sorts of different places where they can get this news and get the information that they're going to need to make decisions. However, the underlying theme of all of our training is that we want federal employees to put themselves in the driver's seat. We don't want them to believe that someone else is going to take care of their retirement future, their financial future. And so a lot of what we're doing is simply helping people to have the right information so that they can get clear on their numbers. Because one thing that's really clear to all of us in the financial planning world is when you know your numbers, your financial decisions become more obvious. And so when we deal with something like a shutdown, when we have a federal employee who may miss a check or two with a shutdown, if that is enough to cause the financial turmoil in their household, we may have bigger problems that the employee really needs to address. And I share this with a tremendous amount of love because we want to help employees to feel empowered to be in control of their situation. But when you don't have emergency savings, when you are literally living paycheck to paycheck, it takes the confidence away from the retirement decisions that you're ultimately going to be making. So we want to make sure that with all the federal employees who are coming through our training and the financial professionals that we train and support to serve this audience, that they have a really clear understanding of the various ways that federal employees are unique, because their decisions are going to be different than the average American that's out there.
And Chris, forgive me, I should know this, but what's the 401k structure look like for federal employees? Do they have that option to contribute to that, or is that plan different than for private sector?
They sure do. Of course, the government has named it something different. They don't call it a 401k, but it is a 401k style plan called the Thrift Savings Plan. And it's actually quite generous. There's a match. There's all sorts of great things that happen with the TSP. But in a government shutdown, the TSP isn't very helpful. All that money might as well be locked in a vault in the bottom of the ocean. If an employee needs that money, they're not going to be able to access it during a government shutdown simply because of the rules of the 401k plan. Now, there are some minor exceptions, but that shouldn't be the emergency plan that everyone is running to pull money out of in the event of a shutdown.
Fair enough. Chris, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.